Izuku Midoriya is brought into a world full of superpowers, quirks, and superheroes, but at the age of 4, he would be told that he doesn't have a quirk at all. This would crush him, borderline break him, and make him believe that he would have no chance, no opportunity to become the hero he wants to be. But this time around, in this universe, Izuku Midoriya decides that he's going to do whatever he possibly can to still support the idea of becoming some sort of hero. And it kind of drags him down the line of trying to become a support hero. A support hero that could really allow himself and others to thrive. But throughout this time of trying to come up with concept after concept after concept, he eventually stumbles across something at the age of about 10 to 11 years old. He comes across something that would revolutionize so many other places and so many other agencies and schools, and that is some sort of arc reactor. He does this all by accident, basically. He tries everything. I mean, he even started kind of like trying to make any money he possibly could to somehow create something, and eventually he came up with an idea, and all by accident, with bills piling up, with all of these loans that they were getting, all of this money they were spending, he finally came up with something that would allow them and his family, or mother and him, to transcend what they've been trying to do, and that is create infinite energy, basically. Izuku grants this to many agencies, sells this to many agencies, and it gives him so much funding so that all of these bills, all of these debts, they're paid off in full, and he's able to start creating things to another level. And on top of that, he is granted full access by various agencies to work with their support course or their support heroes and just utilize all of their kind of faculty, utilize every single little bit that they have in store. And Izuku utilizes everything. I mean, so much so that he starts creating various different things, various different ideas, and other things that could truly help the heroes all around, helping them, keep people safe, things that would, allow people to prop up different buildings so that if someone is trapped or something like that, he's able to do so many different things, and he starts getting pretty well known as somebody that is literally and figuratively just creating a different world. And it seems as if he is creating things all by himself, and everybody is watching this and they want him to actually be a part of their agencies. They offer him kind of like a role in their agency later on when he gets, becomes a full-fledged hero, and he has a ton of offers, like a ton of them. Countless people wanting him to work with them, and countless agencies wanting them to work with them, and Izuku has just the number of agencies is absurd. Izuku has countless offers, countless people, and he continues to push the envelope with that idea and push the envelope with kind of getting better, becoming stronger, and being more prepared. And he continues to push it through every means he possibly can, and that would obviously include his ability as a regular hero. Like, he wants to be a hero still. Yes, he knows he can be a support hero and create some amazing things, but he also wants to be a regular hero, leading to him actually utilizing kind of a different power source of some sorts to try to make these gauntlets, and then also these boots of some sorts that allow him to not only fly, but utilize some sort of beam-like technology that would allow him to shoot, destroy things, move really quickly, and all of the above. He's trying everything. I mean, literally everything. But eventually he's only able, at the age of 15, he's able to only create these gauntlets that could shoot beams, gauntlets that can kind of shoot off weaponry or, like explosives and stuff like that. That's all he can do. Now, I'm not saying that's not impressive. It is very impressive, but through the countless work, that is the most kind of high level thing he was eventually able to get to. In terms of anything outside of that, he's unable to really do much more. He's unable to push the envelope even more, but still he's able to push that envelope enough to where he has a chance at even getting into UA high school, which in all honesty, a lot of the students that are in his middle school, they don't believe he'll be able to do at all, because they start making fun of him. They start saying this, saying that, saying, nah, you should just give up now. All you're going to be is a glorified support hero. You're never going to take that next step. You're never going to be able to be a full-fledged hero like All Might. You're never going to be able to save people the way you think you'll be able to save people. In which Izuku, he hears this, but he ignores it. He thinks to himself, you know what? You may be right. You might be. There might be a chance that you're correct, but I'm not going to let you or anybody else dictate what I can do, what I'm going to do, and what's going to happen. And he really focuses in on this because he continues to work on his gauntlets even throughout his school days. He works on it, does everything he possibly can. And after the day then comes where the teacher basically tells them all, hey, like, well, I want to know what you guys want to do. Like, do you guys want to be, be heroes, whatever? But he already knows they all want to be heroes. And after it is all said and done, Izuku would kind of would get bullied his way out of the classroom, and eventually he would basically tell them, like, he's going to be a hero. It doesn't matter what type of hero he's going to be, but he's going to make a bigger impact than anybody else here. And Bakugo would chime in and say, hell no, you are not. I'm going to be the only person that gets into UA, outside this crappy school. And on top of that, I'm going to be the only person that actually makes a difference. In which, of course, Izuku is just like, no, like, that's not going to be the case. I'm going to make sure that's not the case. I'm going to make sure that I am at that level. I am going to be at that level. And Izuku is fully and utterly determined. And let's just say, the other students, they may laugh at him, but they're not going to be laughing for long. Because before you know it, he would be walking down that alleyway or down below that bridge. And he would be intercepted by what we know as the sludge villain. The sludge villain would come attack, and the sludge villain would basically try and absorb him to a certain extent. And Izuku would have none of it. And Izuku would make sure that he can do something about it. And let's just say he does something about it. Because when the sludge villain would come attack and try to hurt or kill or take over Izuku would prepare himself and utilize the gauntlets that he's created to blast holes in the sludge villain and immediately put him away from where he needs to be. And Izuku shows this entire kind of arsenal of abilities he has through just his gauntlets alone. I mean, legitimately, it's all the gauntlets. And he's able to make small little reactors within those gauntlets that allow him to basically have this energy that fuels them, at least enough energy to where he doesn't run out at very, very, unorthodox times. And this isn't even the end of what he wants to do. He's just scratching the surface. He wants to truly and utterly become something greater. He wants to become something that can truly be the next generation. But unfortunately, when he would, prepare himself to do so, he would actually take the 10 months to create even better versions of his gauntlets and his high-tech boots. And eventually he learned something from the people at the UA entrance exam, that you're not allowed to take items, support items, or anything like that with you into the kind of testing. And Izuku tries to tell them, like, I don't have a quirk. Like, this is how I'm supposed to do so. Like, I'm supposed to be able to utilize these things. And they basically tell him, like, no, you're more suited to be a support hero. Support heroes create items. Support heroes use items. And Izuku tells them that he's more than that. He can be more than a support hero. But they tell him no. They tell him no, that if he's not going to come to UA for, being a support hero, he can only join through the hero course, or join the hero course via, genuinely fighting with his hands, with his bare hands, and doing what he can. And when Izuku hears this, and he's pissed. I mean, he's extremely angry about it. I mean, why would you hold him back to this degree? But, of course, not all the teachers, not all the faculty know about this. Like, they're only relaying the information, and only so many people are relaying information to this idea of Izuku wanting to basically be a full-fledged hero with support items he created. But of course, he has his own things to deal with. I mean, he's going to deal with pretty much a lot of scrutiny here, but he decides to take those 10 months, train up, prepare, make anything he possibly can, actually, and fully kind of utilizing his gauntlets and his boots and stuff like that. Two things that he has created that allow him to fly and shoot beams and basically weaponize them entirely. And Izuku eventually decides that he's just going to go as a support hero. He's just going to go and try to, do what he can as a support hero, because it seems to him that there's just no way around it right now. There's no way he's going to pass the exam, without his gauntlets, without his abilities, without anything. So he knows that he has to. He has to make this decision to basically not try for the hero course at all. And he knows that it's going to suck, and it honestly hurts more than anything. But he still tries for the support course, working with people like Power Loader. And before you know it, he's entered into the support course of UA. And after all of it is said and done, he'd be allowed into UA High School as a first-year support course student. But his head, his focus is still straightforward, straight as an arrow, to become a hero. But still, he knows he has a job to do, so that's the job he will follow. And that job is to show everybody what he can really do. And he has something marked on his calendar, something that will change his life forever. And it's marked as the UA Sports Festival. But before all that happens, he of course meets his classmates. He meets Mei Hatsume, meets many others, Power Loader and all of them alike. And he starts creating things, starts working on different things for different students, even Bakugo, as much as he would hate to do so. And frankly, Izuku and Mei, them respectively, are kind of treated like royalty. I mean, both of them are on a totally different level in terms of being a support hero. Izuku is able to create things, power things, and really kind of make things in a different direction compared to Mei Hatsume, and it just drives her even more to try to do even better and make even better, babies in her kind of her own mind and in what she likes to call it. But at the same time, Izuku still has that idea that he wants to eventually get to that point and get to where he wants to. And Mei talks to him throughout the days, throughout the weeks of them working together and training and kind of doing all these things together. And she asks him, why not a whole suit? Why not an entire suit for yourself? In which he says he's tried. I mean, an entire suit, there's so much to be done with that idea. There's so much to be really utilized. In which she says, well, it's not like he's lacking on funding. They continuously fund him, and they fund him more and more as long as he, gives them what they desire. So he has plenty of funding. So why don't they start working on that? And then you could even place that reactor of yours to, kind of power everything in your chest. Not like your actual chest, but in the chest, of the suit itself. In which Izuku thinks about it and thinks, you know what? You're kind of right. I mean, it could power the gauntlets, power the boots, and power anything else as well. In which she says that it's going to take a while, quite a while. But it's something to think about and something they could work on progressively. And that's exactly what they do. They continue to work on it together, off and on, from, obviously doing other stuff and then other things as well. And she just says and tells him that when he becomes the best hero because of this suit, just make sure to hire her when they get in there. And she'll take a little bit of money on the side right now, too, if he doesn't mind. In which he puts his hands up and is like, you know what? All right, if we get it all done and we get it to the way it should and could be, I don't mind at all, right? I don't mind splitting some of the funding with you and, giving you money so that you can, further your career as well. In which he says as well, like, if I get my own agency, you're 100% going to be hired. I mean, you're one of the best support heroes that that he's ever seen, and he believes that wholeheartedly. Might even be better than him in certain aspects. But Izuku basically says, like, we'll talk about that more later. We are first years at the end of the day, but we got some more things to do. Izuku would continue working with the Iron Man suit, but it wouldn't even be close, right? It wouldn't even be close, and they obviously wouldn't deem it the Iron Man suit, but it would be kind of like a suit of armor that they're trying to utilize slash make slash, you know, create for Izuku. And yes, they're making progress, but it's not close enough to even the UA Sports Festival for it to matter. And yes, that whole USJ incident does occur, and I wouldn't say that the students get out scotch-free, but they do get out without too much harm, except for, you know, probably their mental. But with all that said, though, obviously they got their own things to deal with and their own things to kind of handle, and Izuku is more than prepared so that he can really take that next step at the UA Sports Festival. The days have been counting, and the third day is it's 3 days away, and the third day, it really, really excites him, because all he's thinking about the entire time is that he could truly prove to everybody right here and right now that support heroes are just as good, and he is just as capable. And right off the rip, he shows that specifically, because he shows off some insane moves. Now, he kind of keeps things a little hidden. He believes that the best course of action is not to straight up win this kind of first obstacle course race or whatever's to come. So he kind of, like, you know, utilizes his abilities or utilizes his gauntlets and his boots to fly, move around, and kind of like close distance, but he makes sure that he's not doing too much. He knows that he can't do too much. If he does too much, then before you know it, people might see him as too much of a threat, or might see him as like this or that. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure that I get a good placement, but I'm not gonna get anything higher than like 5th place. And that's exactly what happens. He kind of gets around 5th place, maybe even, I would probably talking more like 6th, 7th place, just so he makes sure that he doesn't get too outdone. And as the cavalry battle would show up, he would just team up with Mei Hatsume and then kind of decide, all right, who should we pick up and who should we, like, you know, work with. And really, it's kind of like a mix, because he could pick up some people from Class 1B, Class 1A, and stuff like that. And him and Mei Hatsume have shown that their chops as like a support duo is pretty insane. But Mei Hatsume would consider actually just going with the #1 student, believing that would get her more recognized. But this time around, she would actually decide, you know what, maybe that's not the case, because Izuku is kind of already well known, like really well known. So it's honestly better to be on his side, and everybody's watching closely at him anyways. So they decide to team up together and actually get a team of 2 people they don't know, but they're actually from Class 1A, Tokiyami and Ochako Uraraka. And they take on just these other students, and they maintain their headbands and pass relatively easily. I mean, Izuku's able to literally fly, so he's able to kind of get things moving, and he's able to stay away from certain people, and it's pretty basic. And frankly, his threatening with his beams and his abilities and stuff like that, he even has kind of like a version of it that is a lot less lethal, of course, which would be like, you know, like rubber bullet kind of thing, or like a really hard hitting kind of thing that shoots out of his gloves as well. But obviously he does have a more you know, very, very, very hard hitting version of it as well. But he kind of does a mix of both, so that nobody gets, you know, flat out killed or anything. But they do pass. Now, they're not like the #1. They're not going to pass, you know, as the #1, but they do pass, and they pass pretty convincingly. And obviously, a lot of people are talking. A lot of people are talking about Izuku, talking about Mei Hatsume, talking about everybody around, thinking, you know what, this is pretty crazy. I mean, this is a support duo. I mean, this is a support duo that has insane amounts of capability, insane amounts of ability in general. And frankly enough, I mean, this is pretty insane. But like, maybe they can really take even the hero kind of course by storm and they might be able to do even more than we're actually looking at right now. And everybody's watching, wondering, I want to see them, take on that next group, which Izuku, I mean, he's more than prepared, and he has a massive chip on his shoulder because he doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to walk away. He wants to prove it to everybody. And unfortunately, sometimes he has to bring some people down with him, or bring some people down for him to succeed. And that would be Hitoshi Shinso, because when he starts talking, when he starts saying this and starts mocking him, Izuku doesn't respond. He doesn't respond, not one bit. Actually getting information from Mei Hatsume that there's probably something to do with his quirk, is probably something to do with like his voice or some sort of inflection. And before you know it, Izuku just immediately cuts down half the ring or half the area, blowing it up and sending him flying out. Izuku is just not even thinking about anything else. He is all business. That is all he's thinking about. All he's thinking about is taking things to that next level and making sure that he does not lose. He wants to make sure that right here, right now, is his opportunity to show everybody. And who's better than not only defeating the first person, which is more general, of course, like nobody really cared too much about it, but what's better than taking down somebody who is very well known, someone who is very, very known by everybody, and that's would be Shoto Todoroki, the son of the number 2 hero, Endeavor. And they go to war. They go to an absolute war, an absolute fight, and it's a hell of a one too. Izuku blasting the ice, destroying and obliterating it as he's utilizing, his blasters and his ability with his own gauntlets, excuse me. And on top of that, that's not the only thing. He even has fire himself. He has legitimately like a flamethrower he utilizes to kind of burn through so many different things, and even creating explosions to kind of break through and blow up various different ice shrines that get kind of shredded toward him or sent toward him. And he's doing everything he can. He's beating Todoroki, one of the top students in UA. And as he seemingly is about to take the W, as he's about to win, he stops. And he asks him, aren't you supposed to be able to utilize fire as well? Why are you just using ice? I mean, I'm not really questioning it too much, but like, I'm just, interested. Why aren't you using your ice? Or why aren't you using your fire, excuse me? And of course, he's like, it's none of your business. Like, you're just a lowly, support course hero, this and that. I shouldn't have to utilize my fire to beat you. And which Izuku's like, well, it looks like you're about to lose. It looks like you're going to lose and you're going to embarrass yourself. So I would definitely think about utilizing that fire, in which he gets cut off. And Todoroki says, like, that's my father's quirk. I'm not going to use that quirk. I'm not going to use his power, blah, blah, blah. And Izuku's like, what? What the hell are you on about? You're telling a quirkless person that that's not your power, that other side of you is not your power? Izuku makes fun of him, kind of berates him for it, and calls him an absolute idiot, telling him that he's throwing away so much of the power he has, so much of the strength he has, so much of the capabilities that he has because of some silly vendetta against his own father. Are you stupid? In which, of course, Todoroki doesn't take this too lightly, sending a giant glacier of ice, the last bit that he has. Izuku blows it away instantly with a blast from his gauntlets, and then immediately would punch Todoroki directly in the face, sending him flying directly off the stage. And he would tell Todoroki, next time he steps in front of this, next time he tries to stop somebody from pushing to basically get their dreams, don't just fold in the towel because you have some sort of vendetta against somebody like your father. And then Izuku tells him, I don't care what happened. I don't care how bad he is. He might be the worst person in the world, which, shoot, the way you're acting, he probably is. But if you're not going to give me a real fight, give me a real chance to show what these people that I'm really, really capable, then what are we even doing here? Izuku would walk away, defeating Todoroki, and everybody would start cheering for Izuku, and everybody that didn't allow him to become a hero in the first place would start heavily questioning if that was a good idea, heavily questioning if they really shouldn't have allowed Izuku to just, leave. Shouldn't have allowed Izuku to just, or should have allowed Izuku to become a full-time actual hero. And with the defeat of Todoroki, soon the defeat of Tenya Ito would ensue, and Izuku would be repping for the support course as he faces off with Katsuki Bakugo, and him and Bakugo go absolutely insane, fighting back and forth, and Izuku is doing everything he can. And as he's about to defeat Bakugo, as he can see the opening, he puts his hand out, and then he feels that's the power that he has within that gauntlet. It's not going off. He doesn't know what's happening, what occurred, but it might be a lack of power. Maybe somehow he's losing power, and he immediately would look at the gauntlet, and it seems like the power is running low, and he doesn't know what the hell he was doing. How he didn't use that much, did he? And he starts freaking out for a second and tries to use the other gauntlet, but it's too late. Bakugo has closed the distance and lands an absolute explosion, sending him flying. Izuku tries to recover, but his other boot seems to be running out of power as well. Realizing that his underestimation of how much power it would use throughout this entire time. I mean, we had an obstacle course race, we had a cavalry battle, we had 3 different fights. Of course, it was going to use an insane amount of energy, and he's just realizing that he made a fatal mistake. And as he looks up, Bakugo sees a floating Izuku only on one leg, and he slams him directly toward the ground, eliminating him and defeating him to become the number 1 year 1 student in the UA Sports Festival. And Izuku, as the smoke would clear, he would look up and he would be pissed. He'd be thinking to himself that he really messed up. He could have done this. He could have showed everybody that he was. Then he stops. The train of thought that he had going through his head stops. He looks up to see a hand from Katsuki Bakugo, and he tells him to get the hell up. He grabs his hand and he helps him up, and Bakugo raises the hand of Izuku Midoriya, and everybody cheers. Everybody cheers. A new respect that Bakugo has, someone that is quirkless, goes toe-to-toe with some of the best all around, and there's no joke about it. Izuku Midoriya today proved that he was meant to be here, and proved that he really belongs. And the fact is, all it's going to take now is more preparation, more work, and more things to ensue, because he knows all he needs is that next step. He needs to make sure that his gauntlets, his boots, his everything, his entire suit, once that is created, that right there will allow him to be the best hero he can be. And he knows that eventually he will do just that. And before you know it, he's back in his classroom, back in his support classroom with Power Loader and with Mei Hatsume, working on so much more, working on his suit, working so much and so much more. And throughout his internship of some sorts, he actually starts just working with various agencies that already fund so much stuff for him. And he works on kind of, with Mei Hatsume, actually creating more things for them as well. And she gets a portion of that, and he does as well. And they make quite a bit of money, to say the least, off these agencies. And these agencies obviously offer her as well a space after she graduates, so that they can possibly be support heroes together. And before you know it, time would be passing by. The endless work on the suit of armor for Izuku continues more and more and more. And he continues working with various agencies, but it would eventually lead to kind of a lack of things for him to do. A lot of things would be very basic, very simple, and everything would kind of just fall in line. That's until he gets a call from somebody he wasn't expecting. Everything that goes on with the hero course, goes on exactly the same, but he gets a call from Sir Nighteye, someone that he hasn't really worked with, but someone that seems to want to work with him. He answers the phone and he hears what he has to say, and it seems like Izuku is being invited to be one of the front runners and forces to try and stop the one and only Overhaul, because he believes that Izuku can create something that could change everything, create something that could really make them, or have them the potential to really stop the entirety of this operation that Overhaul is trying to run. Stop the entirety of the operation that is happening. And before you know it, he's in front of a screen looking at who Overhaul looks like, looking at them in general and thinking, how do we stop them? In which Izuku immediately is able to talk about the quirk of Overhaul, what it does, where it comes from, how is he able to utilize it. And immediately he's thinking that all it's going to take is perfect timing. All it's going to take is one opportunity. And Izuku starts making something over the course of a couple weeks, and he creates something that if they ever come across him, that this will shut him down for good. Something that is like your quirk canceling cuffs, but as long as you just touch him with it, it will expand to his entire body and create a pseudo fortress around him, like a small, encapsulation that would make it so he can not utilize his quirk, not take off his gloves, and straight up stop his quirk from working in general. He hands it off to Sir Nighteye and Mirio and wishes them the absolute best. But, of course, they would tell him that he's not going anywhere, that he has a full-time work study if he wants to have it. And frankly, this would be a great opportunity for him as well to even wider spread everything that he's been doing and every capability and every little device that he's creating, in which, Izuku says, you know what, sure, let's do that. I'm up for it. Let's do just that. But one thing is, I want to have Mei Hatsume as my, other support hero, someone else that can help out and blah, blah, blah. And they decide that's 100% okay as long as she's okay with it as well. So it seems like the future of Izuku Midori as a support hero is secured, but as an actual hero, as a full-on hero, and his suit slowly but surely being created and made, it seems like Izuku Midoriya wants to become something that is even more, become something that is even greater, and become the one and only Iron Man. But before that happens, he has a couple hurdles to climb, a couple hurdles to jump, and a couple mountains to go over. And soon, he'll find out exactly how his entire journey will unfold. Izuku Midoriya starts working with Sir Nighteye's agency and starts working on different technologies with Mei Hatsume to try and basically neutralize the one known as Overhaul. And after a lot of testing and a lot of preparation, it seems like they come up with something that would do just that. But as they're there, as they're working or hard at work, they then look toward the television screens and see that something else is going on. Something else is happening, and a fight would break out between All Might and All for One. A fight that would be one that sends riptides throughout the entirety of Japan. And yes, All Might may be on top. All Might may be the winner here to end it all. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't leave an effect. All Might barely wins by the skin of his teeth and a final United States of Smash. And everybody stands, everybody watches, and everybody's in shock as they see All Might point to the camera and say that you are next. Saying that the next generation of heroes, it is their time. And it is their time to completely and utterly stop the villains that are going to show up sooner rather than later. And this is going to be more true than they could imagine. And as Izuku continues his work and kind of, I wouldn't say ignores what's happening all around him, but kind of thinks that whatever is to push himself forward is what's more important than anything. He can't watch the screen and be in shock and awe over the fact that All Might does such amazing things. He can respect it, he can enjoy it, and he can really appreciate it, but it doesn't mean he can just stop working. It doesn't mean he can just stop what he's doing, because he has a mission himself. He has something that is for his future that he looks forward to and doesn't want to stop at all. So he's pushing forward toward that. Specifically makes a bit of a kind of capture device, you could say, for the one and only Overhaul. And all they really do from now on is wait, hope. And this gives time for Izuku to prepare his suit even more. Preparing with Mei Hatsume. Mei Hatsume even tells him that it needs to be perfect. That what he's trying to do, he wants to revolutionize everything. Yeah, of course, he could take the suit out as it is, but who's to know if this suit is going to be perfect, if it's going to be just what he wants it to be. And Izuku looks at her and tells her that he wants it to be like All Might. He wants to be just like All Might, but maybe even better. And they work on this suit as Overhaul would eventually be captured by Sir Nighteye, Mirio, and many others because of the capture device that was created by Izuku Midoriya and Mei Hatsume. But they continue working, hard at work, working on this specifically, and eventually, after time would pass, Izuku would actually get an opportunity to show off his own skills and his ability during a kind of Class 1A versus Class 1B type of fight. And Izuku, well, he wants to show off exactly what he can do. I mean, he's already proven what he can do. He's proven to Bakugo and many others that he can keep up, and that a literal support hero is able to stand toe-to-toe with some of the best hero course students. So when they do a joint training battle, and he's kind of put into a slot to basically work with and fight alongside both Class 1B and Class 1A, same with Hitoshi Shinso, it seems as if it's pretty obvious that Izuku can really give off a lot of capabilities, even just with his gauntlets and his boots that allow him to fly, shoot a ton of lasers and beams and all of these crazy utility-like items. And when he takes on the likes of Class 1B and Class 1A, it's quickly shown that these support items might just be the next step up in this generation of heroes, because when he takes on the likes of these heroes, these future heroes, and some of the highest level ones at that, he not only can keep up, but he even defeats them. Even defeats one team from Class 1A and one team from Class 1B, giving them kind of like an even playing field in terms of that. And he's such a big component of defeating them that a lot of people are talking. Aizawa is talking, and many others are talking about bringing in Izuku full time. And Izuku says, like, well, next year would be a perfect time for him to work with both. But of course, it would get brought up that he should really focus on one. But Izuku shakes his head that he's proven that he's been focusing on support hero stuff, and he still can come in here and beat the best of the best and can keep up with the best of the best, as he points toward Bakugo. And he tells them flat out that if he can do that without any hero course training, who's to say that he can't do both? And he tells them, he basically tells them, like, give him time, wait till next year, insert him into one of the classes, or 2A or 2B, he doesn't care which, and then he'll show all of them what he can really do. And this just puts Izuku back on the map for this idea of becoming this hero. But as this is happening, as this occurs, Izuku would continue pushing forward and continue kind of turning over the the new ideas of what he can truly do. And he continues working hard, preparing himself, and even kind of taking different tests that would allow him to be a hero. Now, he doesn't take the test, this hero kind of license or provisional hero license test with the normal classes and stuff. He actually takes it by himself in different scenarios and stuff like that. But being that he has a pretty high likelihood of not only passing, but a pretty high acceptance of many other agencies, they have no issues, like legitimately no issues bringing him in, no issues actually allowing him to take over and do certain things and try out for this next portion of his hero kind of journey. And he gets his provisional hero license exam, and from here on out, he kind of just continues training, preparing, and even gets word of something that would be very, very terrifying. Word over something specifically, word over the idea of a war coming. A war that is going to ensue, and a war that they need to be prepared for. A war that is going to be different and more grand than anything else anyone has ever seen. And they have one chance at this, one chance to stop it all. And Izuku, well, all he can think about is preparing his suit, preparing for whatever's to come, and preparing for anything that needs to be handled, because he believes that this is going to be their greatest test. And he hears from even Sir Nighteye himself that they're going to have more abilities, better abilities, and so much more than you can think, and they need to be ready. And Izuku nods his head and says that he agrees. They need to be ready, and that's what he's going to be, ready. He tells Mei to start working with the other people, start working on defenses and stuff like that. Don't worry about him. He'll focus on this. And when she asks him, is he really going to believe, does he really believe that he's going to get it all done, like, before the war happens? And which Izuku shrugs his shoulders and says he doesn't know. But he does know is that once he steps foot out there, there is no going back. And he continues to prepare for 4 months straight. All he's doing, day in and day out, nights and day, all he's doing is training, preparing, and doing everything he possibly can to prepare himself and others for this up-and-coming war. And, of course, this would be, a good thing. And Izuku would be creating something that has never been created before, his suit of armor, and an armor that could stand up to the likes of the strongest heroes and villains out there. And he's doing everything he possibly can to do so. And on top of that, he's preparing for every single contingency. He heard from other heroes, and Sir Nighteye really more specifically, the things that these villains could bring to the table and the things that they might have to deal with. And Sir Nighteye basically tells them, like, there's certain things that they foresee and certain things that they need to really be ready for. And Izuku, he starts preparing everything, working with everything, doing anything, and starts really kind of figuring out so much in terms of his suit. And eventually, he feels like it's ready. But before you know it, Sir Nighteye would tell him that it's best, if it's not fully ready, to stay here, stay put, and help others as you can. You have so much more to offer than just being on the front lines. And this would lead to Izuku listening just a little bit. But as he watches the fight unfold, as he watches everything ensue, all he can think about is that he can make a difference. He watches Mirio clash with the best of them, fight alongside everybody, and everything seems to be going haywire. Everything seems to be crashing, collapsing, and going insane. And all he can think about is that he can do something. He can help, and it's all that is going through his head. And then he thinks about it for a second. He looks to his side to see the little girl by the name of Eri sitting there wondering what's happening, and realizing that he's put here as a glorified babysitter, but he can do something. He looks at Eri, and Eri asks him if everything's going to be all right, if everything's going to be okay, and if he should be out there doing something. And Izuku looks at her and then looks back and thinks he should. He walks toward the support station, and he immediately starts clicking his gauntlets. And as the suit would open up, he would walk into it, and it would cover his body entirely. He can hear a voice that is, well, like an AI kind of voice would begin speaking to him, and he realizes that it sounds a lot like Mei Hatsume. Oh, no. And he realizes that the AI, or like this artificial intelligence that was put into his suit, is actually, well, Mei's voice, and that's going to annoy the hell out of him. But beyond that, it seems like it's working fine, and he begins to move around to feel that everything is good. But as all the information is surging, he now knows of basically weaknesses and other things that need to be handled, and he knows that Shigaraki is one that has some sort of quirk, and a quirk that allows him to regenerate so much. But it seems as if Aizawa is like the only one that can hold him long enough to where he can actually, be utilized and also defeat Shigaraki in one foul swoop. So he takes off, flying towards the location, and then when he arrives, he hovers over the entire area, as Shigaraki has so many of the heroes on the back foot, and a lot of these other villains as well have them on the back foot too. Gigantomachia and a large group of villains seemingly are winning this fight just enough to where the heroes don't know their next play, but Izuku would show up and in one foul swoop would blast Shigaraki away and tell Aizawa to get a rest because they're going to need him for one final push against this guy. And he tells some of the other heroes to go help with that giant monstrous creature because they need to get that thing down ASAP. In which Aizawa asks him if he really believes he's ready for this, if he really believes that he can handle this, in which Izuku tells him that he'll give him enough time to rest, give him enough time to close his eyes and regain a little bit of that. And he tells him that he's more than ready because he's been preparing for this his entire life. Shigaraki would dust himself off and would realize that even he is slow, like his regeneration is slowed just a little bit. He tells Izuku he doesn't know what's in those blasters, he doesn't know what's in those beams, but it's something damn freaking annoying. And he's going to have to singe that entire suit straight off of his cold, dead body. Izuku tells him that he's going to wish he never said that. And he immediately beams him again, blasting him straight into the ground, sending him flying through countless buildings as well as he gets pushed even backwards through the ground and the concrete, pushing him through the buildings. Izuku flies over and begins to clear out everything, burning Shigaraki with a giant, basically flamethrower. And he tells Shigaraki that everything in his suit, he knew this day would come, and he knew that somebody would have something like he does. And he has worked with multiple different agents, multiple different elements, multiple different things that slow down regeneration, and it's all to a chemical level. And he tells Shigaraki that they don't just need Aizawa to cancel his quirk because he's doing it right now. Shigaraki gets up and brushes himself off and says even so his regeneration is plenty, so unless he can hold him off long enough before, for Eraserhead to get his ass up, it won't matter. Shigaraki goes charging at Izuku, sending tendrils as well, and Izuku would dodge mid-air, flying around as Mirio would come out of nowhere, landing a blow straight to Shigaraki, and Shigaraki would be annoyed, telling him to get the hell out of here. He's dealing with this guy, whatever his damn name is. And he looks at Izuku and he thinks, what is his name? Who the hell are you anyways? Immediately Izuku would look at him and he would say that he didn't think that far. But how about this? You can call me Iron Man. And he blasts Shigaraki straight into the ground once again, and he would send as much power as he possibly can. Hearing the voice of Mei Hatsume counting down that his energy is getting lower and lower, and as it hits that lower energy, about 20%, he would look over toward Kaminari, and he would basically signal to him that he needs more. He needs as much as he possibly can. And as he does this, Kaminari shrugs his shoulders and just unleashes as much power as he possibly can at Izuku Midoriya. And Izuku would clear out as he would gain so much extra energy, up to 200%. As Shigaraki would come out of the dust charging at Izuku, could see Aizawa open his eyes once again, activating his quirk, and he would shoot his Omni Beam, or his beam, out of his chest, unleashing all 200% of the energy. The quirks being canceled as the beam would ensue and also cover Shigaraki entirely, scorching him basically to nothingness. And Izuku would unleash a power that would even cancel out and make it so his suit would entirely shut off. The power would be just absorbent. It would be insane, to the point where it would obliterate Shigaraki until there was nothing left. There was nothing. Not a single little bit, or at least that's what they believed. But it seems as if Shigaraki was burnt to a crisp, just enough to where he starts regenerating back. But quickly, before you know it, somebody would swoop in as Shigaraki is regenerating from basically nothing, and Mirio Togata would be out of nowhere, would slap these quirk canceling cuffs and even slam something that Izuku has created directly on Shigaraki, canceling the quirks that he has, making it so he can no longer utilize them, and make it so that he literally cannot do a single thing. And Izuku and his suit would fall from the sky, land directly on the ground, and he would be unable to move even just a little bit, because all of that power, it took a hell of a lot out of him, and it made him feel exhausted, borderline about to pass out. But the other heroes would come over, pick him up, and tell him that he did a hell of a job, and whatever he made, and whatever all those years, those 16 years of preparing, those 16 years of creating, that right there was all worth it. In which Shigaraki is defeated, the League of Villains is now being completely captured, and Gigantomachia is fallen as well. But unfortunately, there's one person, or actually quite a few, that unfortunately passed during this war, and they were to sacrifice themselves to make sure that Gigantomachia never woke up, or at least never woke up during the fight. And as all this occurs, and as all the villains are put behind bars, and as everybody mourns for the people they lost during this fight, the end of the war and the end of the League of Villains and so much more would ensue. And as they enter their second years, Izuku Midoriya would get one singular letter in the mail, a letter that basically allows him and invites him to join either Class 1A or Class 2A, or Class 2B of his choice, and join them in the hero course, as well as allowing him to push forward with Mei Hatsume in the support course as well. But the future of Izuku Midoriya, not only as a support hero, but also as Iron Man, is still somewhat unknown. But everybody watched, everybody clapped, and everybody paid attention, because Izuku Midoriya is not just Izuku Midoriya anymore. He truly is the one and only Iron Man. But that is the end of this story. The end of What If Deku became Iron Man. And if you enjoyed, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, show some love to the video as always. And yeah, that's all I got to say. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry, this is a little bit shorter of a series than normal, but I usually like making them like an hour-ish depending on the series. But I hope you guys still enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.